Let's kick it off with John and a comment on Willie Mays. Rest in peace, Willie Mays. Thanks for all the memories. Say hey.
Oh, he was such a dynamic personality. And if you look at the videos now, because all the TV networks are running all these different videos, not just of the catch against the Cleveland Indians in the World Series in 1954, but there's one common denominator. Every time you look at a video, he's smiling.
Oh yeah.
He's got a big grin from here to here. He was quite a gentleman. He was a hell of a player. And I tend to think he was a more complete player than Barry Bonds. And there's no doubt that Bonds was a great player, but there's an asterisk next to Bonds' name. And to me, it's just, I've said this again, it's so eerie that he passed the day before he was supposed to go to Birmingham to be saluted as part of the Negro League Hall of Fame game tonight that involves the St. Louis Cardinals. So great man. John, thank you for the opportunity to be here and give us an opinion on Say Hey Kid.
Say Hey Kid. I mean, he's the last of that era, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are there any other players that are still alive that played in the Negro Leagues?
No, hardly. No, none of the stars. And of course, right at the end of the Negro Leagues, we had Ernie Banks, Don Newcomb, Monty Irvin. That was right at the tail end of the Negro Leagues. And those guys all came to Major League Baseball in the early 50s. Negro Leagues went out completely, finally folded in 1954, but effectively in 48 or 49. Once Jackie Robinson left, once Larry Doby left, then there was a huge surge of guys who went into the minor leagues. That effectively took away the true stardom of the Negro Leagues.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting seeing all of the video footage because it makes you realize how rare that video footage is. You know, when they run the B-roll of Willie Mays, there's only so many clips they can show, and they start recycling them.
I wish we had B-roll of Josh Gibson.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, but nobody's found it.
Nobody. But you know what's interesting too is a lot of people didn't see Willie Mays in real life. You know, they just see this or hear the stories. Some fans have said the best center fielder I ever saw was Ken Griffey Jr. And then someone tells them Mays was like Ken Griffey Jr., but better in every dimension.
Yeah. Different athlete. He could fly. And of course, I grew up Mickey Mantle in center field Yankee Stadium. And I never appreciated Willie Mays because the Giants weren't real good when he was young. I mean, in the late 50s, before they moved to San Francisco, they weren't very good at all. So he didn't quite get as much recognition, became a superstar out here. Of course, he was surrounded by your favorite first baseman, Stretch McCovey, and then surrounded by Orlando Cepeda. I mean, the Giants really were a great franchise.
Juan Marichal.
Got to the 1962 World Series. Were really, really good.
So,
Say Hey Kid. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Emmanuel. And he says, as a Dodger fan who only saw Barry Bonds play, I will say Willie Mays is Mr. Giant. From coming from the East Coast to the West Coast, and Mr. Mays winning a World Series gives the edge over Barry Bonds.
Well, I just think had Barry Bonds not cheated, now maybe he would not have hit 762 home runs if he wasn't a steroid guy. But Barry Bonds was a great player in his own right. Barry Bonds was a great Pittsburgh Pirate, and that was pre-steroids. And yet, obviously, look at what he became, and look what happened. His reputation got dragged through the courts in the Balco case, and that's why he and Roger Clemens will never be, and Mark McGwire never be in the Hall of Fame because they got that stigma. And Bonds was a great player. There's no need to do it, but he wanted to do it because he wanted to get the big contract and be the star. But man, Mays was great. I mean, if you just look at the statistics, the 660 home runs and the RBIs and the base hits and 24-time All-Star. Just absolutely amazing.
Well, that's when they had two All-Stars a year for a few years.
Yeah.
But do you think that if Mays did not get drafted into the Korea War, which, by the way, I don't know if he saw combat. He was more of a celebrity for the troops. But if he didn't play those 2 years, do you think he could have had more home runs than Barry Bonds?
Might have. But I think he was only gone 1 year in Korea.
Only one.
Only one. It was different than Ted Williams, who had missed the effect of maybe 3 full seasons in baseball. But he came back and he was a great player. That's why this week I've been just fascinated looking for different videos of stuff I've never ever seen. It's just what a great player.
Think about how many home runs he was robbed of at Candlestick Park, and actually Barry Bonds too. But when Mays played there, it was an open stadium, so the wind was flowing a lot more. I mean, that's why they say he learned to hit to right field because there was a little bit of a jet stream that way.
And he started at the Polo Grounds, and center field to the clubhouse of the Polo Grounds. It was like 2 miles. It was a long way. Now, they called it Coogan's Bluff because the foul lines were like 280 feet down the foul lines.
Mhm.
But that was a long shot to hit that thing into left center. You couldn't hit it to dead center. I never recalled seeing anybody hit a fly ball that got close to the clubhouse, which was way out there.
Well, that Vic Wirtz hit went pretty deep. I mean, that was over, 400 feet?
I want to say it was 460, and Willie caught it.
And he wasn't even on the warning track,
No,
I don't think,
no.
when he caught it.
Yeah, it was just absolutely amazing. All right, Fans Forum continues. Next question.
Okay, so let's go down the list here and go to Callan. And he says, sorry to have missed you on Monday. You think Florida is feeling the pressure of letting the 3-0 lead slip now? Coughing up 13 goals in 2 games isn't winning many hockey games. Yikes.
Well, I think we said this before this series started. Florida plays roughhouse hockey. They do lean on you, and they play the body, and they do take penalties, and they kill off penalties and all that, and they smother you. But this is an exceptional special teams group that they've got together, Callum. I mean, I've never seen a team score as many power play goals in postseason play in the Stanley Cup Finals, or score as many shorthanded goals as the Oilers have. So I think that Edmonton is really in the back of Florida's head right now. I think they're in their headspace, and I think they got them worried because now Florida has to say, if we try to lean on them, we continue to take penalties, we're going to continue to put Connor McDavid and Draisaitl out there on the power play. We're in big trouble because these guys keep scoring power play goals on them. So now, can Florida change its persona? No, I think they have to swarm, and I think they have to play the body. They just need to stop taking cheap penalties, the hooks and the slashes, etc. I think this series is going 7. I think the sucker's going back to Florida. Then the onus will be on the Oilers. Can you win again in Florida against the Rat Pack? Interesting to see. But boy, Friday night, I don't care what the hell you're doing Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We're bringing beer and having pizza, and we're watching the game Friday night here.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. I mean, now let's just assume the Oilers win Game 7. That would be the first time ever that someone's come back from a 3-0 in the final, right?
1942.
That's the last time.
My Toronto Maple Leafs, like everything else with the Maple Leafs, way back when.
Yeah, a long time ago.
1942, they were down 3-0 to the Detroit Red Wings. Of course, that was the war years, and with different rosters then. But they came back and beat the Red Wings 4 straight after being down 3-0. It's never been done since. And this would be amazing if this happens. So let's see what Friday brings. Molson's Canadian Frosted Glasses.
For sure. And I'm going to love watching the national anthem. That's always a ton of fun. Okay, let's go here to Chris. He goes, bleep and saw. Going to do something I never thought I would. I am applauding the Lakers front office for hiring J.J. Redick. Sure, they probably lowballed Hurley and missed out, but what the hell do they have to lose? James Borrego, Kenny Atkinson, any of the list completely uninspiring candidates are sure 2 years and done. They could catch lightning in a bottle with J.J. Any of the other retreads are nothing more than Darvin Ham 2.0. P.S. Schilt will stop making excuses for the Padres when ...
Well, in terms of the Lakers, they interviewed who they wanted to interview, and they've been zinged 3 straight times now by Rob Pelinka's hires. This better work out because the next press conference will be Pelinka's firing. But this guy's smart. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he is the basketball's version of an analytics junkie. Only question I have is he tough enough to do this with players? Granted, Tyrone Lue became a head coach for the first time somewhere, and he had to go through a learning curve, but he didn't let guys walk all over him. It's going to be important that LeBron and AD don't walk all over this guy. Equally as important that this general manager goes out and finds some more players to give this new head coach a better fitting roster. Going to be fascinating to see, but bit of a gamble. But then again, if you're Laker ownership, how do you go to your fans and say, well, we didn't get Hurley and Redick, and maybe we could interview the guy who was 14-68 in Detroit. How do you do that too?
Well, do you think Redick was recommended by Krzyzewski because Redick is a Duke guy, right?
Well, they were together for a long time.
Right. So they knew each other, but Redick was more like a 3-point shooter. You kind of wonder, is that the persona that you want as a teacher? But then again, I guess Steve Kerr was a 3-point shooter, and look at his coaching success.
And Kerr had no background at all in coaching. Pat Riley had no background at all. And I'm sure the Lakers press conference will say, look at what we've experienced already with one guy. Look at what Golden State's experienced with one guy.
Yeah, so let's go hire someone with no experience because we think it's going to work.
Hell, I'm in the media. I was available. Thank you. Next question.
Okay, let's go here to David. He goes, NFL is boring. Why would I want to waste time watching a sport where the strategy may involve running out the clock? But the NFL should reward fans, not punish them financially.
But here's the problem. He's obviously making reference to the antitrust lawsuit and Sunday Ticket and DirecTV. The problem is, and this is why John and I have just gone back and forth on this for a couple of weeks during the course of this antitrust trial, is you do have access. You get to watch the hometown team free. I mean, the Rams and Chargers are on your television in LA and San Diego and Southern California every Sunday free of charge. And you do get the CBS package. You do get the Fox package. So it's not as if you're being forced. You can make the choice. I get Sunday Ticket because I'm a freaking NFL junkie, voice of the Chargers and the Seahawks. So I love NFL football, and the wife is a Steeler fan yelling at the TV, scaring the dog. So, at the end of the day, I'll do it because it's my thing. But you're not forced to buy it because you do have all these other games. That's why I just don't quite understand the logic that this is an antitrust violation, because the league is giving you games already.
Yeah, the whole thing is nonsense. Just to me, the league should be able to charge what they want, and if they charge too much, then people won't buy it, and then that's the give and take of a market dynamic. But I want to go to Dave's comment earlier. He says the NFL is boring. I mean, are you buying that? I mean, college football is a lot more entertaining than the NFL, don't you think?
Well, college football is explosive. And then you got young kids, and young kids make mistakes, got great athletes, and there's big plays all over the place. There's a lot more football science to the NFL. I don't think it's boring by any stretch. I think it's great players making great plays against great defenses. Mm-hmm. But that's the first fan that I've ever had in modern day time say, I don't like the NFL. It's boring. How's it boring? It's big, it's physical, it's really fast. And by the way, their TV ratings, 93 of the top 100 shows on television were NFL games last season.
Yeah, the NFL is king. There's no doubt about it.
On we go, Fans Forum. Next question.
Let's go to Gary. And he's talking here about Willie. He says, he would have beat Babe Ruth, but he joined the Army. Say hey, rest in peace.
Yeah, great. And it's really impossible to compare players of one era to players in a different era. I mean, a Bambino with 714 home runs was a man among boys physically in that era. But I don't know how you compare 1920 to the 1950s with Say to where we are with the superstar of Aaron Judge today. It's impossible because the travel's different, the game is different, the pitchers are drastically different. The off-season weight training has changed the whole composite of what a ball player is today compared to what he was in the 50s, compared to what it might have been with the Babe and the Bambino. So it's just a different game. But Say man, you look at the video of him, you compare it to the video you might see of Henry Aaron, the video of Mickey Mantle. He just a five-tool player, complete, round-the-clock five-tool player, better than all of them, I thought.
Do you ever see in the B-roll when we're seeing Willie Mays on TV, his swing was a little different than the swing of modern-day players?
I always thought Henry Aaron had the best wrists I ever saw in baseball. Mm-hmm. And then I looked closely at Mays, and I thought 660 home runs. Look at his wrist and the power. And he was thick. And so there was a lot of oomph behind his swings. I think he might have the most prolific swing of anybody in baseball. Mantle had a great swing, especially left-handed, his home run abilities. But just what a phenomenal, complete five-tool guy he was.
Yeah, and then the other part of his backstory is interesting because when he was living in San Francisco, he tried to buy a house in the city, and he got a lot of pushback, because of discrimination and all of that. But he stayed strong, and he eventually bought that house to with his wife.
Yeah. And the Giants did a lot to support him too. Mm-hmm. But then again, the Giants got really good really quick after they got there in 58. And then all of a sudden, hell, they were in the World Series.
The Giants should have won so many more World Series in the 60s. It seemed like they were loaded, but they always seemed to come in second place, mostly to the Dodgers.
Right. It is the great rivalry.
Oh, no question about it.
Dodger-Giant rivalry, and not just because it's L.A., San Francisco, but that predates Ebbets Field Polo Grounds.
Yeah, and then the Johnny Roseboro incident with Marichal, all of that. What a great rivalry it was.
On we go. Fans Forum continues.
Okay, let's go here to Manny. He says, as a Lakers fan, why should I care about next season? The Lakers are losing their list and need a full rebuild.
Well, they might be headed to a full rebuild. I don't think they're going to have a hell of a lot of cap space. They obviously have a late first-round pick this year, but I don't think that's going to be a difference maker. The number ones have had more recently, all these guards. They've drafted Schifino and Max Christie before that. None of those guys are playing. And you'd think by a third or fourth year, these guys would be into the rotation, and they don't have a lot of cap space. So I don't know if we're riding this out If we're, LeBron's going to be 39 going to 40. So how much time does he have left on the clock? And Anthony Davis has still got years left, but you need more than one quality player to survive in a league. So I guess the thing that's the most shocking to me, you and I worked in the era of Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my shows from the Great Western Forum and draft shows in the Lakers front office and all that. And there was a uniqueness to the greatness of the Lakers. And now we're having just a generic conversation about the Lakers. Can we finish high enough so we'll be in the play-in game?
I know, really.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And I think I quoted you on Monday, that Lakers statistic that I dug up, that 11 of the last 12 years, the Lakers have finished 7th or worst in the playoff race in the Western Conference. That's modern-day Laker basketball with all the banners hanging up there. 11 times they finished 7th or worse to try to get into the Western Conference playoffs in the last 12 years.
Yeah, they're not the Lakers of old at all. But listen, about JJ Redick, what do you think he's going to do? What is he going to bring? Is he going to be a run and gun like Paul West had, or what do you think kind of a system he has in mind?
They're going to shoot threes, because the threes are the great equalizers in the NBA. I don't know who the hell's going to shoot the threes if D'Angelo Russell leaves. It might be Austin Reeves. Maybe they'll go get some more players that can fit that style. Does he teach defense? Because the Lakers' interior defense has really been pretty shabby the last group of years too. So this will be interesting to see the analytics that he brings and what the personality of the Lakers on the floor. Because obviously LeBron has the ball in his hands and everything runs through LeBron. Is it going to change that? Or can he get more people that will be complements to what LeBron and AD do, which means can they go get some more outside shooters? It's a roster that needs changes.
So when JJ Redick's on the sideline, what do you expect? Do you think he's going to wear a suit like Pat Riley? Is he going to wear like logo gear? Like
everybody, the whole world's wearing logo gear.
Because I think he's going to still find ways to show off his tats, right?
Okay, we'll see where it goes. Hey, he's your coach, not necessarily mine. This will be interesting to gauge going forward. John, got a couple more here?
Yeah, we do. Let's talk Padre baseball here, and this is with Plastic Ben. He says, I've been contemplating this for a while, and it came to the conclusion that Juan Soto was never the problem in San Diego. The Xander Bogaerts signing will go down as one of the grossest overpays of all time. Right behind it is Manny Machado, who is the problem. Things will never click as long as Manny is on the roster, no matter how many times they try to trade their way out of it. Not a Padres fan, just a friendly observation.
I think it's a good observation, because the one consistent in all the frustrating years we've had more recently is Machado and A.J. Preller. That's the consistent. Now, up until this year, Bogaerts had been a really rock-solid player. 280 career average, never got hurt. Now he's hurt and had a lousy start to the season. Manny is not quite what he was before. I think the thing that turns people off is just Manny's persona. I just don't think people have ever gotten away from how he acted at the end in Baltimore. Nobody in Baltimore's got a good thing to say about him. I don't think people have forgiven him for the stupidity of the comment, I don't need to be Johnny Hustle. He said that after the Dodgers World Series. And then the comment last year, as the team was faltering again, just read the back of my baseball card. You make stupid statements, they tack that up next to your baseball card, and people remember that stuff. I think he's a rock-solid ball player. I think the game comes really easy to him. I'm not going to bag on him because he's hurt right now. If he was hitting 230 and Lothan, would be screeching. The whole town would probably be screeching. So I think you need to cut him some slack. He never misses a game. He's played more games than anybody in the major league since 2015. He is in the lineup all the time. And sometimes it looks like he's loafing, but I think the game is so easy for him athletically because he's such a great athlete. It looks like he's gliding. So I'm not as critical of Manny right now because he's dinged up. But the one constant through all this year and year of frustration is Manny Machado and A.J. Preller and the contracts the general manager's given out to those players. And maybe it's going to come back to haunt them. Maybe they're never, ever going to get there because he has no way to upgrade and change the roster without trading a farm system away again.
Manny is not the problem.
Okay.
I mean, he's a little prickly. He's got his own thing, and I'm not Johnny Hustle, and he sometimes doubles down on that. But he's really not the problem. His defense is fantastic. He's slumping. He's going to come around. The problem is something else, and I don't think we've been able to figure out how to put our finger on what the problem is. Maybe the problem is A.J. Preller.
Well, the problem is that they've traded all these players away. They don't have anything in the farm system. Their top 5 players have all hit a wall at every level. Nobody's doing anything. Could those guys be traded? Sure. But then what's the benefit if all you're doing is filling holes that you created by trading other guys away? You're going to trade Ethan Salas away, your young catcher that's supposed to be star of the future? You're going to trade DeVries, the young shortstop, away? Now, granted, they're not ready to be in the major leagues, but you're going to trade another hot young talent to fill a hole you created because you made a mistake somewhere else. That's the issue. It seems to be just a revolving door of scrambling to fix this issue that I created because I screwed up the last issue.
Well,
I don't know if that makes sense.
But you got to still fix the issue, so you can't.
Yeah, but you created the issue.
Well, yeah, they created the issue, but you still got to fix it. You can't just leave the problem exposed, so Manny's not the problem.
Okay.
Maybe Juan Soto was, but not Manny.
All right. Social media. You think we got a few people with opinions there?
Well, that's where we are. Let's talk Angel baseball. This is with Eldell, and he says, I think we dropped the ball with keeping Ohtani the last year instead of trading him at the All-Star break. Could have got some serious prospects in return for a good organization like the New York Yankees or the Dodgers. Instead, we kept him like we were going to make a push. Shaking my head.
Well, I think you can always, 2020 hindsight's always great. If you were not committed to make him an offer to keep him in October, then you should have shopped him and gotten the bonanza price. And yeah, people would have said, Artie Moreno screwed this up. Artie Moreno's given up. But if you got 3 young guys who are in your everyday lineup now for Ohtani, then maybe you'd be better than a 24-43 team right now. Now, the rumblings that came out last week about maybe they would consider talking to Trout. And then the Giants rumblings from San Francisco that if he were available, maybe we should look at that. Well, ownership. You want to own this thing? You want to run it correctly? You are, quote, in the second biggest market in the country. And when you had good teams, you did draw huge crowds in Anaheim. But if you never had the intent to re-sign him, then why did you not trade him and start the stockpile rebuild? Because then you still would have had Trout, and you could have had 3 or 4 players for a superstar. Now, maybe the response is we couldn't get 3 or 4 stars because he was going to go on the free agent market. Well, you put him in a place where he'd sign somewhere else. Hell, you trade him to the Dodgers. If he wants to be a Dodger, you trade him to the Dodgers and you get 4 of the Dodgers' top young players, and they're now in Anaheim, and you've got a better chance to compete than being 24-43 with Team Utility Man.
Yeah, you get something. I mean, the Padres got something for Soto. We can debate, the quality of a Johnny Brito. But when was the last time the Angels have done something right, where we've praised the organization for their decision?
Not recently. I mean, they did sign Ohtani, and they got him very cost effective. They convinced him to come here, so that's a pretty good acquisition for 6 years.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, and obviously Trout, and they re-signed Trout to a mega contract, but that's been offset by the terrible mistakes, the Anthony Rendon situations, and the crap contracts that they gave out to Vernon Wells and Justin Upton. I mean, if we did a checklist, there'd probably be more negatives than there are positives in the Artie Moreno regime.
Oh, I think it's overwhelming. That list is lopsided.
Next topic here, social media.
Let's talk about Charles Barkley. And this is from the Toe Cutter. Because Barkley is about as sharp as a bowling ball. Listening to him and try and talk about things he knows nothing about or interjecting his irrelevant opinions was painful. It seems like some millennial producer came up with the name for this show as a sole basis because it was clever, and other fool producers bought into it.
Well, he's making reference to the talk show that he co-hosted for 12 minutes with Gayle King from CBS.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very good. And I don't need Charles Barkley's opinion on abortion or Charles Barkley's opinion on Trump or whatever.
Yeah.
But, there's no doubt that he is a persona. And that's the way TV is now. Opinions and loudness. The other end of the spectrum, you got Stephen A. Smith. I almost fell off the chair. Stephen A. Smith was a really good sports writer at Philadelphia Daily News. That's where I first met him. I interviewed him a couple times. And now he's become a megastar. And now he's got bodyguards. They brought him in, to the arenas for the NBA Finals. He's wearing silk white suits.
Yeah.
He looks like a mafioso with bodyguards. And this is Stephen A. Smith. And now he's as loud as Barkley, and he's got opinions on anything and everything. And I'm sorry, SAS, I don't want to hear your opinions about taxes or, that's, I hate to say this because it sounds terrible, but it's like these TV executives are directing these people to talk to the lowest common denominator, a fan. Talk to your strength. Barkley on basketball. Stephen A. Smith, I think, has tremendous knowledge on basketball. Where he lost me during a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, he went on and on and on about Tom Brady and New England and throwing to all these star wide receivers. And these wide receivers are making Brady great. He kept referencing his 2 wide receivers. Both had been on injured reserve all year, had never played a down. And here's SAS talking about these guys, Kendall Bourne, and I forget, the other one might have been Edelman. They were on IR all year. They never played a down. And I thought, you're just BSing your way through something you don't know. And I'm supposed to say, this is great TV. Come on now.
Well, you've got an opinion about everything. You just don't wear a silk suit when you come strutting in.
Oh, I don't own a suit, but it's fascinating. I watch him in the morning sometimes. And would you ever wear a pink suit? He does.
Well, because he wants to be that guy. Because he sees all the athletes making their fashion show entrance into the arena. Now
Neon
it's his
lights,
turn.
everything in neon lights. But if you like Barkley and SAS, that's okay. As long as you watch
Barkley, I think, is going to not be fully retired. Someone's going to throw money at him. He'll come back. Stephen A. Smith is just a spectacle, but he's getting ripped on for all the Caitlin Clark talk.
Oh, just getting hammered by his own people.
Mm-hmm.
And I get bothered a little bit because there's an awful lot of racial tinge stuff that he says. And I don't know that every aspect of every minute of everybody's life has to be racially tinged, especially in sports. Talk about the teams, talk about the players, but he throws this tinge stuff out because I can't pay attention to it because I'm watching his white silk suit.
I like how he gives the Cowboy fans crap.
Oh, yeah, all the time. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed what we're trying to bring your way. Agree or disagree, doesn't matter. Just make sure you tell a friend.